Well, welcome. I just want to do a quick introduction. I think everybody knows everyone, but obviously Ken Tonjes, our CAO, and Kim Schwartz, who's our manager of our surgery department. And then Scott has overseen a lot of this project, as well as, I don't know what your official title is, Scott. You've got a bunch of hats. So.
Director of Support Services.
Director of Support Services, meaning you support everybody. So.
What's your last name, Scott?
Scott Smith.
Smith?
Yeah,
I
so.
can spell that.
That's an easy one. And I'm Matt Eisenhower. So obviously we're here at the garage level to start the tour, and later today you're going to follow the same tour that the general public is going to be able to see. So we'll begin. I think we'll float downstairs just in the interest of this tour to see the entrance from the Tongass Highway as well as the bus stop. So we'll head down. There's 4 floors of the new wing, so we're going to the basement. The way they're marked here is basement, first floor, which is the garage. M is our main floor because that's the floor that will ultimately be connected to the rest of the hospital, and then obviously the second floor, and we'll explain all of the different things that are on those different floors. We'll step out real quickly just to see the entrance to the street level. So here's the entrance to the street level, and obviously we don't have a whole lot of art on the wall yet, and you won't see any art throughout the building or furniture for that matter. We're just still in the finishing stages of things, but most everything I think Scott is done with the exception of furniture. There's still some finished pieces that will happen, but the areas that we'll see today are pretty much as you will see it, minus the furniture and art. So to my right and to your left is the entrance from the street level. There's a covered bus area that people can wait and get off. You'll be able to enter the building through this area. There's elevators here as well as a stairwell to my left.
Will there still be the bus stop up at the main entrance?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's my understanding that depending on the route, they'll either stop there first or here second.
I guess I can't answer that. That'd be probably a borough question. I think there's at least some potential that this will be the new bus stop. But
Completely.
I don't.
I was told, at least initially, they're going to stop at both places. So this is the second floor, and this is the clinic waiting area, and it actually houses most of our clinics with the exception of surgery, which is downstairs 1 floor. So behind me is the PeaceHealth Medical Group Behavioral Health and Primary Care check-in location. So any of the internal medicine or family medicine, so the general physicians that you would see, this would be the area that you would come and check in, and the offices and the clinics are on this floor as well. To my right, to your left, is also the visiting clinic area. So PeaceHealth employed physicians who come here temporarily, maybe once or twice a month, or at some type of intermittent type of schedule. This will be here. Their offices and exam rooms are behind that wall. Obviously, as you can see, this is a real spacious area. Wonderful view when it's not raining and blowing. But one of the advantages of this space is that there will be shared services between staff. And so if there's ever need for sharing information between departments or sharing staffing, that's a huge advantage. Behind you is the pediatrics women health area. So this is the obviously children as well as women's health. That's OB and GYN services are here, and their clinics are behind this wall as well. So this whole general waiting area incorporates all of our clinics here at PeaceHealth with the exception of our surgery clinic that we'll see momentarily. A couple things I will point out: we don't have the rooms quite ready to see yet. You'll be able to see an exam room downstairs, and all the exam rooms are similar. But one of the features is a room over to my right that sick children will be able to be taken to with their parents out of the general population. And so that's an added feature. Obviously, if your child is here and is just here for a healthy exam, they can sit outside. But if we want to keep them segregated for obvious reasons, there's a special room for them as well. Also, for our psychiatric patients, if they choose to sit alone outside of the general area, there's a space for them to sit as well. One of the things that we've shared at a lot of our public events is if you went to the Wilson building for any type of services, this is where you will now come, with the exception of our surgical clinic. So if you went to the Wilson building, this is where you would come for your clinic services. So this is the main floor, and the reason why we call it the main floor is eventually a main corridor will go right through that wall and it will tie into the existing building. That will take us approximately 6 to 12 months to complete, but ultimately this will be the access into the hospital. The current access to the hospital will be through the parking garage, and we'll point that out to you when we get down there. So this is the main floor, and it's also the surgical suite waiting area, as well as the surgical clinic waiting area. So if you need any surgical services, this is the place you would come, whether it's for surgery itself or the clinic. So again, if you've gone to the Wilson building in the past for clinic services, this is where you would come. If you're actually coming for surgery, this is also the place you will come. And there's the waiting area here with another beautiful view of the Narrows. And now we're actually going to enter into the back of the clinic space, and we've got some rooms that give you an example. The clinic rooms that you'll see and the procedure rooms are very similar to all of the clinics. And as you can see, we still don't have the furniture here, but this is obviously the walls and the carpeting and the flooring is complete. So as we're walking down this hallway, you'll note there's lots of different offices. We have those closed off because they're not completed yet, but many of those are administrative offices. We've got a treatment room to your right as we pass here. This is a medical office assistant workstation, very open standing workplaces. And then as we continue down this hall, you'll see exam rooms. We'll actually go down and see an exam room. We'll be able to poke our head into one of those. One of the added features, especially of newer clinics, is shared workspaces. This is an example of one where the medical office assistants, as well as our nurses and our physicians, will have a space that they can share. These will be workstations with computers, and so there'll be a lot of natural collaboration between the licensures of services that are offered, and so they won't be spread out between offices, but they'll be working central to where the patients are, as well as between themselves. And so the conversation will be much more natural and move more quickly when we're giving patient care. So this is a typical exam room to my left, and you'll see that it still does not have any furnishings yet, but this is the average room that will be available to patients in all of our clinics. This room does not have a window. Some of our exam rooms do have a window to the outside, but you're welcome to step in and take a look. I'm going to step in. This is an example of a treatment room, and this is another added feature of this building. The space and the availability for equipment and supplies is something that we just did not have before. So especially in the surgical and orthopedic department, procedures can vary from injections to manipulations, and this space is much larger than has been in the past in the Wilson building, and the proximity to the other exam rooms and the folks who are working here on this floor is a huge advantage. So you can poke your head, and again, obviously the equipment's not in there yet, but you can see the space.
Just the space itself, I can't believe how cheerful it is and happy. You feel good just walking in here, so I think it's going to be a really healing environment as well as a good place to work compared to what we had before. And I feel the air is already different. You can feel a lot of air circulation where we didn't have that this much in the other buildings. So, yay.
I was told to get near
sorry,
you with
gotta
the
get closer to
microphone.
you. That's right.
Yeah, so I wasn't getting fresh with you. You look lovely this morning, Kim. All right, so the next room we'd like to show you is a casting room, and again, there's a lot of casts that are both put on and taken off in an orthopedic surgery clinic. This is another huge advantage to have a room that's dedicated to that. There's a lot of equipment that goes into putting casts on and taking them off. So again, a lot of the furniture isn't in here, but you'll get a feel for the size of the room and the ability to give great service to our patients. So now we're walking down the corridor that connects our clinic space to the actual surgical space, and I want to point out the proximity of the two areas, and this really allows for our providers, when necessary, to get to from the clinic to the operating room. In the past, they would have to leave, obviously, the Wilson building and get all the way through the hospital, and that may seem like a little thing, but 5 or 10 minutes of our surgeons going through the hall can sometimes mean a big difference in efficiency, as well as just practicality of them getting through meeting families and people in the hallway. I did want to point out, this is our imaging suite that is available to the clinic. And Scott can speak to some of the details on this, but obviously this is an X-ray machine, and this is a space that could be used and can be used in our clinic for folks who need some X-rays.
Yeah, so this is really state-of-the-art imaging equipment. You know, one of the things Matt mentioned, that you don't see a lot of furniture. Well, there's not equipment furnished in the building yet either, and a lot of that is yet to come. Just because of the size of the equipment and the logistics to get these rooms put together, the equipment obviously is already here. Doesn't seem like a lot, but most people have had an X-ray. You know, in years past, you've run film through processors. Then we went to digital plates that also had to be plugged into a system to be processed. This system is what they call a direct capture or direct radiography. They do still have a plate. This comes out, but this is a digital plate. And so if there's an X-ray done on a wrist, it will pop up on a computer monitor. This is a wireless, communicates wirelessly with the equipment. X-ray is processed in 3 seconds. So, you know, if you have multiple views to do, the plate will process in 3 seconds to image, and then it refreshes itself in 6 seconds. So we've gone, you know, literally from chest X-rays taken 15-20 minutes to probably, you know, 5 room time. And when you're trying to get a lot of a busy orthopedic practice or general surgery or really any outpatient services, those efficiencies mean a lot to our patients, as well as our staff and our ability to get a lot of patients put through in a busy practice. So I'm really excited about that too. There's also a new MRI system in the bottom floor of this building too that will be opening with the new building. So yeah, you'll see a lot of top of the line equipment as you walk through the ORs, especially are mostly outfitted now.
So Scott, talk through an example of where this might be used. Obviously, if my child is hurt significantly and I go to the emergency room, they're going to get X-rays in our existing space. But talk through a patient that might come to the clinic and use this space.
Yeah, so you know, those specific workflows haven't really been fully developed yet. But right now, especially before we get the new corridor into the existing building, there's some talk about doing the majority of the outpatients in this space. So if you're a primary care patient or a pediatric patient and you need a same-day X-ray, you likely will come to this room to have that done. The access is easy and convenient, as opposed to trying to get out of the building and over to the new space.
And that's I just want to highlight that. So as an example, if my son's at school and he twists his ankle, and we don't think it's much, and maybe we wait 3 or 4 days and come in to see Dr. Rice or somebody in the primary care clinic, they can then say, hey, let's take a look at that. You know, just go downstairs 1 floor, and we'd ideally use this space, be able to take an X-ray, and fairly quickly, as we get things in place, could send that digital image back upstairs, or the radiologist would read it. And so the point is that the streamline of services in this space is just the efficiency is increasing and allows us to do things that we haven't done in the past, or if we did do in the past, it was just a little bit more convoluted and took more steps to happen. Is that fair?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you know, to add on to that just a little bit, I mean, the reality is for a patient, from the time a patient is ordered, a pediatric patient or any patient within this building needs an imaging study, right, that we can do here. It can be in front of a radiologist's eyes in 5 minutes. I mean, it's really stepped up the opportunity for stat or urgent exams for sure.
And obviously a radiologist is a physician that's specially trained to read images and x-rays.
You got it.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions? Pretty cool space. This is nice. These are some dressing rooms for the imaging department when folks need to obviously change their clothing before the x-rays are shot. All right, so we've just completed a big loop. This again is the corridor to the main hospital that will eventually be built, but now we're going to proceed this way and go actually into the inpatient or the surgical area and the pre-op and the post-op of surgery. So if you have surgery, this is the space that you would be. Most of the time you're going to be asleep, so this is now a great time to see what you may or may not see when you're getting a procedure done. So again, I wanted to point out how close, we're now standing in the surgical suite, how close the surgical suite is to the clinic space, and that increases efficiency of our staff getting back and forth when necessary. So we're going to proceed this way into the surgical suite itself. This is our sterile processing, which is a huge part of the surgical procedure process. And the fact that it's so centrally located is key. And Kim, did you want to speak a little bit to that?
This is really exciting for us because everything is on one floor now. Before we had to take I guess a dumbwaiter, is that a term you can use anymore? I don't know, but we had to take an elevator that we would send our supplies and our dirty instruments downstairs, where they would be hauled out, taken care of downstairs, and then put in another elevator and sent back upstairs. So the efficiency wasn't there. We didn't have a connection with our team. Now we're all in the same area. We can just connect all between every case, which is very helpful when we have to do quick turnover for instruments.
So we're going to show you 3 of the rooms in the OR suite. There's more, but you'll see 3 of them. This is the endoscopy lab, and this is used for minor procedures related to scopes that are used for a variety of reasons to diagnose patients with this space. So you can see this is much, much larger than anything that we've been able to use for those procedures in the past. I'd like you to step in and take a look. And again, note very little of the equipment is in yet. You'll see these C-arms that we'll note in some of the other spaces. So that here and here, these will most likely be monitors and other pieces of equipment, pulse oximeters and things like that will be hung. Again, we'll note it in the other operating rooms, but in our older operating rooms, pretty much all of that would be on the floor. And
Cables.
yeah.
We call it surgical surgical yoga when we move around in our rooms anymore, because we're always ducking and diving, and now we can just walk. This room, the endo room right now, there's hardly any space in it to even turn our stretchers. So this is a great improvement.
So our current endoscopy room is less than half this size.
Yes.
And so square footage in any surgical room is important in the sense of floor space because of sterility and things of that nature. So this is a huge improvement over what was already being used for many, many years.
Except we won't be in as good a shape.
I did want to ask you, just what are you said you hadn't really seen this space like this before.
Well, because this is just getting now to finish final touches, and it's exciting to see what we really get to work in. I mean, this space, I feel like this is going to change even the way we come to work. And when we come to work and we're happy and our patients come in here, and I think it's just going to be a really great improvement overall.
Yeah. I'm just wondering what your emotions are seeing it.
My emotions, I'm near tears, seriously. And I just look around and I can think ahead right now of how we're going to utilize this space. And to me, that's really exciting. And I can't wait till our team is in here and we're practicing because we don't even know our workflow yet. This is so big. I got lost in here this morning. This is really so different. It's so different. It's 100% different than what we're used to.
And it's quite impressive. You know, we're to the point of punch lists in this building, and even, you know, we did some walkthroughs Wednesday night to this morning. The contractors are really at the end of their game as far as getting things, the signage up, and it's amazing. You walk through from day to day, and things are just improving and getting close to being ready to be used.
Yeah.
So the next thing we want to show you is the procedure room, and there's a couple reasons. I'd like you to see the procedure room just because it's a great procedure room, but I also, for perspective, this is approximately the size, it's actually a little bit larger than our current operating room space, so you'll see that. The other thing that Kim has pointed out is having this space with emergency capabilities for C-sections and things like that, make it an extra space that does not necessarily impact the normal scheduled surgeries. We have 3 main operating rooms, but we don't get to plan emergency C-sections, and so emergency procedures like that, this room is ideal for that, where general anesthesia can be used if necessary. And so this is our procedure room. And again, you'll see a lot of the equipment will be hung from the ceiling. It doesn't look elaborate quite yet, but very little will actually be on the floor.
It's huge. Yeah, it's beautiful. And the other thing is we have windows, because we're in the OR pretty much most of the day. And the surgeons, the team that stays in a room, we don't even know if it's daylight, if it's night, until we come out. So this is a very new feature for us, is having actual sunlight in our room or window space. We're excited.
Does this
about
help
that.
or hurt you recruiting for
Well, hey,
staffing?
everybody's gonna just want to stay in the rooms all day, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what we like.
Yeah.
So we're going to walk down the operating room corridor, and you're going to see 3 operating rooms. We're actually going to step into 1, but we'll work down. This is operating room number 3 and 2, and they're pretty much the same space. Operating room 1 will be larger, and we'll tell you why in just a second. So this is operating room number 3, and this is our premier room that will be used for orthopedic procedures as well as others. And we are pleased to announce that we have a new full-time orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Becker. It will be hopefully starting in September, and Dr. Becker comes with just an amazing amount of experience. He's got some experience at Harvard, and is just someone who has been able to do lots of different procedures in lots of different parts of the country, and so we were tickled pink to have him here. But we wanted to give a little perspective for those of you who have maybe not been in our current operating room. This is one of the current operating rooms, and the things that you'll see is there's an awful lot of things on the ground that take up square footages, which then make it very, very difficult for the staff to do their job. So almost all of these pieces of equipment that you see in this picture are now going to be hung from the ceiling, which allow for efficiency of space as well as a sterile field, which is always something that's very important in the operating room. So, Kim, you want to add to that?
All these cables right here are now up in here. And we get tangled up with our IV poles, different things when we're trying to move around in this type of space. That doesn't exist anymore. So much more room in here. You can see how with a sterile field before we would have to we're crunched in. Here you're going to have all this space outside. This will be where the table is, right here, and then everything else out there. It's huge. It's beautiful.
So, Kim, I know the answer to this, but I'll ask you anyway. So why are there so many tubes? What is that used for?
These tubes are... these
Oxygen and nitrous oxide
That's
and
for
air.
your general anesthesia. And this over here is going to be all of our arthroscopy, any type of equipment, our cautery, all of that will be in here. Right now they're all on stands that we push around, and we have to take them in and out of the rooms. And when we do that, it's hard on the people that are pushing the carts as well as on the equipment. Now everything will be stationary, and the efficiency that way too is huge.
So again, windows, that's a huge advantage. Obviously it's a little cloudy today, but just being able to know that the outdoors is there is huge. This space is incredibly large by industry standards. It's the largest in the state of Alaska and probably one of the largest operating rooms in all of America. And that's something that we're really proud of and grateful that the city was able to allow us to do this. And it will, combined with Dr. Becker and other surgeons and staff, will make this really a premier place to get your surgeries done in Southeast Alaska.
Everybody that comes in here right now is just in awe, what I've heard from the tours. So I feel like it will be really an attraction and a recruitment, what do you call it, enhancement. So we're looking forward to it.
So most folks hopefully will never see this room,
Right.
at least awake, but
And
do
Dr.
today.
Becker, what's his first name?
Stephen. And I'm still learning another, Dr. Anticure is, and her first name is Shannon. So Shannon Anticure is a orthopedic surgeon, but also, this is really important, does pediatric orthopedic work. And to our knowledge, I believe that's the only orthopedic pediatric surgeon in Southeast Alaska.
So this will be our joint room, our total joint room, total knees, total hips. We'll do shoulder arthroscopic procedures in this room. That room is designated for just broken bones and hip replacements, total joint replacements.
So we're about ready to enter the post-anesthesia care unit as well as the pre-surgery and post-surgery area. But before we go in here, I'll just point out this is the corridor that will be used by most of our patients who are coming and going from surgery, whether they're coming from the emergency room or one of our floors for their procedures. So if they're not outpatient patients, meaning they're coming from the hospital, this is the hallway they'd come down. There's also a large elevator around the corner that will accommodate bringing patients down from our OB floors for emergencies and things like that. And I'll point out that that elevator also has the capabilities to go to our roof. And in the future, we'd like to have a helicopter pad on the roof so that helicopters can land right on top of this building. We'll be able to use that elevator and quickly get them down into surgical services or other emergency services when necessary. So if you're having surgery here, the first thing you might wake up to see is this space. This is the post-anesthesia care unit, and there are, I think, Kim, 5 bays?
4.
4 bays. 4 bays here. There'll be curtains that will be put up, so when you're put to sleep in the operating room, and once the procedure's done, you'll be wheeled here, and you will wake up from your general anesthesia in this space. To my left is the nursing station, and one of the beautiful things about this nursing station is not only the space that's there, but also the visual ability to watch patients as they wake up from the surgery. The glass room behind that is a medications room, and so no longer does a nurse or other staff, when they're going to get medications, they're not going literally behind closed doors. They can go into a room that they can still see their patients, and that's a huge advantage. Okay.
One thing I want to just add to, we're really grateful to this. We got to help design our workstations. And that was the visual piece with the glass was actually because after we looked at how we were going to be able to see our patients, we originally had walls. And we looked at it and we thought, you know, if we've got a recovery room here and patients out there, how are we going to really keep track of our patients? And the architects came up with this with our input. So it feels really good to see that in fruition too and see how it's going to work. It's beautiful.
And it's a good example, Kim, of the interaction between the architects making the design and the particular needs of the local staff that were able to speak into exactly what was needed for our community. That might be slightly different than in other parts of the country. So we're going to keep moving down here, and we're going to go a little bit different order. So these rooms are also where you would come to be prepared for your surgery. There's also 2 rooms here that can be easily turned over for isolation, and that's a big advantage. In the past, if we had to isolate a patient for a variety of reasons, the disruption to workflow to clean those rooms after was a challenge. But because these are dedicated and ready to go if necessary for isolation, that will not interfere with the rest of the work that's being done. So all of the rest of these rooms can be used for pre-op or preparation for your surgery as well as recovery. And you can see there's lots of different standing workspace for the different staff and the nurses and the physicians to work their way through. And I believe there are 9 recovery and pre-op rooms.
What we like about this too is every room is private now. Before it's all been curtain space, and now we have individual spaces for all of our patients, which really gives a lot more privacy. The story I like to tell is we had some patients that were all in our existing space. One was in a corner, another one was in a corner, and one was across the hall. And somebody asked a person their name, and the other person said, "Is that you, Mary?" And Mary goes, "Yeah, is that you, Joe?" And Joe says, "Yeah, it's me." And then somebody in the corner says, "Hey, Joe, Mary, it's me, Sam." So all these people in different areas could hear each other, but it turned out to be a party. We opened the curtains and everybody was happy to see each other, but that's not what we want to do. We like the idea of having privacy. Everybody's got their own individual space.
So families can easily come in, and there's lots of room for not only families but staff. And behind me is the exit to the lobby that we came up, and so it's very, very close in proximity. And I think that concludes our tour. We're just grateful that today is an exciting day in which our public or our community are going to be able to share this wonderful time together. The partnership between the city and PeaceHealth has been just a time that we can celebrate. Obviously, this is a city-owned building, and to be able to provide a tool to the caregivers at PeaceHealth to provide care for the patients is something that we're very, very grateful for and celebrate with the community. So thank you.